Update, all the engine mounts have been replaced except for the fail on this transmission mount. I reinstalled it. While IPD apparently has fun and games with jigsaw puzzles, it's not really something you want to be dealing with as you're working on your car. They provided instructions on how these are supposed to be assembled, but they're not marked. The hoses are not marked in any way. You have to eyeball it. So this is me trying to simulate what they have. They do make a point of saying 3 connectors and 2 of them larger for what looks like the hoses that are coming off of the reservoir, and a smaller one. Robert DIY has a video on replacing coolant hoses, and he bored through because this, if you can see it, is reduced from one end to another. Now, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go on faith that DO88 knows what they're doing, and IPD has a lot of Volvo customers, so I'm not going to do that. I don't have Robert's experience working on cars, so we'll see. Before getting started, I wanted to dry fit everything and get an idea with the DO88 kit from IPD where everything's gonna fit in place. So went through an exercise of matching hoses. I think I got everything. So, and this is, I suppose, kind of a lesson for me on how all this works. Draining the radiator underneath the bottom of the radiator, passenger side. If you look up underneath the front, you'll see a red knob. It's a little difficult to turn. I recommend a hex wrench to get to it, and then be careful. I think it'll be easy to break. Angle needle nose, and then kind of, yep, clicks right in place, holds wide open. I think that's okay. And of course the clamp is facing downward, and you have to come in this way because that makes perfect sense, right? Honestly. I know it's not. Yep, there we go. Quick update, have the overflow or recovery lines in. Not a fan of Volvo's clips. These 2 weren't bad. Back here was painful, but got these lined up, correct position, good to go there. Got this this nut or this clamp facing the right way. However, it's stripping when I try to tie down, so I made to replace it. This right here, though, friends and neighbors, connector, if I can get to it, is not something I could figure out how to do this. Unconnect it. I bet it's called a quick connect, in all sarcasm, but I couldn't get it. I had to actually cut this here, the band that goes on, because that quick connect comes with that hose. I'll need to find a replacement, get a clamp, and tighten that down. Back here was a little bit difficult. I managed to get that Volvo clamp to lock back, but once I got the hose on, I could not unlock it, so use these zip ties to exert some upward force while with the screwdriver press down on the other flange to get it to release. Lower radiator hose. So on the right side, the thermostat, was able to get that connection pretty easy, no issues. Getting down here, if I can get an angle on it, that connection, which is directly above the drain cock for draining the radiator fluid, was a little tougher. I had to get the oil dipstick out of the way. It came out with a 8mm. So we got that one in. I'm not sure if the silicone hose actually needs any kind of rubbing protection, but the previous hose had it, so why not? I added it. Got a better angle for next time. Pretty easy to hit with an extension. Overall, pretty easy going back in. Thank goodness. There is a clip here that holds. Trying to get it right here. There's a clip that holds wiring harness of some sort, so you have to reconnect that, and then shouldn't be a problem to go back and reinstall the dipstick. Next on the agenda, last but not least, I think this is called the upper radiator hose. Pretty easy unscrewing them, and as I'm pulling them out, really kind of doing the video more as a note for me, there's a harness here that, here, let me get this out of the way, that needs to be clipped back on to the radiator hose after it gets installed. And then also, I did not notice before that right here is like another clamp that fits into, and then it goes underneath here. Get the ECU connection out of the way, and then to the connection there. Pulling it off, there's a pretty decent amount of corrosion, and I might try to brush a little bit of that off if I can. That's about as good as I can do with a hand wire brush. Call it good and call it a day. And of course, very last connection I have to make, the clamp snaps, so that's fabulous. Fortunately, I actually had a spare of that clamp, which goes to the heater core. I got a few extra clamps with the Elevate air intake kits, and it is about the right size, so I went ahead and used it. However, I will need to find a clamp for this bleeder hose, and everything else seems to be fine. Got a connection for that harness, and then it's back, and this holding clamp, and then all these C clamps are repositioned where you can actually get to them and access them, so it's not a pain in the ass. For anybody thinking about doing this, again, this is a 6-speed manual. It is a different setup than an automatic transmission, but if you're thinking about doing this, when you get to this upper radiator hose, which I believe this is, recommend that you do feed it in, work it in into the correct position as if you're going to dry fit it, but make this connection first. It would be more difficult if you made these connections here, and then you wouldn't have much wiggle room to kind of pull this back and get it inserted, start here. So that is the IPD DO88 radiator hose kit. I am going to call it a night here. check my connections tomorrow, and then fill up on coolant, and then we will see what leaks happen. I imagine what I'm concerned about, not so much because this doesn't have a clamp, but I'm concerned that I may have damaged this special connector here while trying to figure out how to get it out. Fingers crossed, hopefully that's not it. Otherwise, I think everything else has got solid connections, even back here. That pain in the ass Volvo clip as far as getting to it. So, last thoughts, and I may say, I don't know how I'm going to edit this video, but while I am thinking about it, one, wasted a lot of time figuring out the right combination for these bleeder hoses. You know, which one matches up, and then the connector. I don't really understand, me personally, why DO88 can't just do these as single pieces. I don't understand why they can't do that. It's a mystery to me. And then IPD should consider having as an option buying additional clamps to replace these Volvo clamps, even because depending on the age of the car, they may be reusable, they may not. I had to fight that one. This reminds me I have to cut off the zip ties I used to pull it, and because once I got to this radiator hose coming out of the thermostat, working with normal clips, it went a lot faster. And you know, and this one that I thought would be the hardest was actually the easiest. So apparently my phone's about to die, my flash went off, so I'll wrap with that.